Hi guys! So I thought that it would be fun to do a video comparing the hardbound Erin Condren planners with the Happy planners, because these are two brands that have quite a bit in common, but there are also some important differences between them. So if you're considering getting one or the other of them and you wanted an in-depth look at them both so that you can see how they resemble each other and how they differ from each other, or if you just like seeing videos filled with lots and lots of planners, then hopefully this is for you. So first off is size. The Erin Condren hardbound comes in two sizes, the small and the large. The small is a little bit narrower than A5, I would say, but is closer to A5 than any other size. So if we compare it to this A5 Leuchtturm, you can see it's about the same height, but a little bit narrower. So it's like a Moleskine large or an A5 slim. The large size is, I'd say, more like a B5. It's not actually a B5, but it's closer to that. It's bigger than A5, smaller than A4, or a bit smaller than US letter size, if that helps. So it just comes in these two sizes, whereas the Happy Planner comes in three sizes. It comes in a mini, which is like a personal size. It's pretty much identical to a personal size ring bound planner, and you can see it's a little bit smaller than the small hardbound Erin Condren. Obviously the discs make it a little bit bigger, but the actual writing size and the cover is smaller than that. Then the classic size, which is a bit bigger than A5, I'd say it's something between A5 and B5. You can see that it's quite a bit bigger than the small Erin Condren hardbound, but it's a bit smaller than the large Erin Condren. So none of these sizes map onto each other very well. They're all a little bit different from each other. And then finally you have the large Happy Planner, which is a US letter size, so it's just a little bit smaller than A4, but it's basically the closest that you can get to A4 if you operate in international paper sizes. So it's the biggest of all of them, and it's quite a bit bigger than the large EC. So this is all five of them, so you can see that none of them is the same size as any of the others. So that's, I guess, the first thing to take into consideration. If you want something that's similar to A5 size, and this is really the closest. And I feel like, so the classic size Happy Planner for me is already a bit big for carrying around. I wouldn't want to carry this around with me. The large EC, definitely not. This is really more of a desk planner. I use this as a home planner, and so it's open on our living room table all the time. And the big Happy Planner is just giant. So I feel like this is still manageable, whereas the big Happy Planner to me is just really humongous. I kind of bought this, it's a sort of a long story. I bought it to fill the covers, which I had bought for something else. And I think for me, the only thing I found that it works for is a daily planner, because it's so big, but it somehow to me feels a lot bigger than this one does. This one still feels quite manageable to me, if that makes any sense. So those are the sizes. And obviously the fact that the Happy Planner comes in the three different sizes means that you have a bit more choice, but none of them is exactly the same as either of these two. So I think if you're looking for something that's, you know, kind of similar to personal or A5, this one will work. And if you're looking for something that's a bit bigger, then this one will work. But to me, this feels more in the same category as the classic Happy Planner rather than the big Happy Planner, which is just quite a bit bigger. So the next obvious big difference between them is the binding. So the EC is a hardbound, bookbound planner, whereas the Happy Planner is discbound, and that's really what they're known for. That's their signature feature, is that they're discbound, the Happy Planner. So I like both of these binding systems. My favorite is always going to be bookbound. I'm just a bound planner person at heart. That's my favorite kind of planner. I've talked about this before. I think it's because it looks like a book. It looks like a hardbound book, which is something that I have always really liked, because when I was a kid I wanted to be a writer and I loved blank books and journals. So anything that looked like a book will just grabbed me. Sometimes people worry, when this came out, people were really worried that they wouldn't be able to use these with stickers because they're hardbound, and so if you put stickers in them and it gets fat, then the binding will start to crack. I am not concerned about this. The main reason why is that I have an A5 Leuchtturm, which I have been using as a pretty planner, and you can see that I have been totally stickering this up for the last 8 months, and in fact I've got stickers in here up until mid-October, and you can see the binding is still okay. It is getting fat, but it's really not a problem, and I'll be able to make this last until the end of the year without any issues. So because this is hardbound, just the same way as the EC is hardbound, I'm not concerned about that. And in fact, I'm using this one with stickers. It's only been since the beginning of July, so it's been about a month and a half, but you can't even see it. This is an 18-month planner, which I will talk about more in a minute, but I've been putting loads of stickers in here, and I really don't think it's going to be an issue. So if that's something that you're concerned about, I would say definitely this is going to get fat. Whereas the Happy Planner being disc-bound doesn't have that issue at all because it has room to expand, and you can also buy expander rings if these aren't big enough. So it's not something you have to worry about at all. But I personally don't think that it's an issue even with these, just because of my Leuchtturm sticker experience. But if you don't like it looking fat, then this is the one to go for if you want to use lots of stickers, because, you know, then the pages are separate and you can take out some of the year and etc. So that leads me to my next point about the binding. Bound planners obviously are quite inflexible in that the order is the order. You can't remove pages, you can't rearrange anything, you get what you get, that's it. Whereas the disc-bound system, I think, appeals to a lot of people because it's basically the same as a ring-bound system. You can take the pages out and then put them back in again. So this is something that, for me, I really like the look of the disc-bound system. I just think there's something cool about the discs. I really like the aesthetics of them. I like, you know, seeing them on the side of the planner. And I like the idea of being able to move the pages around and take pages out and put them back in again and rearrange them and add note pages. But in actual fact, I never use my planners that way. That could be because I used a bound planner or a spiral bound planner for years before I started experimenting with different types of planners, and so maybe my mindset is just so ingrained into thinking I just have everything as it is and I don't rearrange anything that I've somehow never been able to make the leap. So even if when I've used a disc bound planner, for example, I was using this mini Happy Planner as an expense tracker for the first 6 months of the year, I never moved anything around. All I wanted to do was open it, write the expenses down, close it again. I didn't feel the need to add in note paper or rearrange things, or sometimes I took out parts of the year, but that was because I was using this with one of these snap-in covers, and the snap-in covers on the mini don't work if you have the whole year in at once. But that annoyed me because I would rather have had the whole year together. So I think it could just be a mindset thing, because there are people who wouldn't be able to survive if they couldn't make their own sections and take out parts of the year and add note paper in and put in daily pages in between the weekly pages. So I think if you're that kind of a planner, then obviously the disc-bound system is definitely better. It just comes down to personal preference. I personally never feel the need to add anything in or take anything out. I'm just very happy for them to give me the year as it is, and I don't have to think about it anymore. But like I said, I think maybe that could be because I never used ring-bound planners, so I just, you know, the option of doing that I never evolved, my planning system never evolved like that. So this one I use as an expenses tracker, and again, I just write down the expenses and that's it. And for the home planner as well, I just write down the schedule and that's it. But I like the idea of being able to add things in. So I've seen a lot of people with their Happy Planners put in daily pages, for example, on a particularly busy day, or put in to-do lists that they can move from week to week, which would be quite convenient. So I do like the idea of having that flexibility. I just never make use of it myself. Where I do really like having a disc-bound planner is not as a planner but as a notebook. So I've used the snap-in covers of the Big Happy Planner for punching pages like A4 materials and then just sticking them in and be able to take them in and out is very convenient. But for an actual planner, I've never used it. So I feel like that feature is kind of redundant, and that's something that has made me go back to the hardbound, because I feel like it almost seems like a shame having the discs and not taking advantage of them, if that makes any sense. The only reason that I have these disc-bound planners is because I like the way they look, and that it just doesn't seem to really justify having these big plastic or metal discs on your planner if you don't need them. Because this has a sleeker profile, which I like. It's easier to put in your bag, it doesn't get caught on things. So it kind of makes sense to me, since I'm not actually taking advantage of the functionality of the discs, just to go with the bound planner. But I think, if you like having the flexibility of setting up your own sections and moving things around, then definitely disc-bound planners are great. So in terms of the layout and the design, there are some similarities between these two, but also some differences. So the first thing that they have in common is the mini version, or the small version, is horizontal in both cases. So it looks quite similar. Okay, so if we go to the same, let's see, kind of a spread. So these are both week on 2-page horizontal planners. They give you the same amount of space for each day, which I love. As you know, I hate the dreaded shared weekend. So Monday start for both of them, and then it goes down to Sunday, and then you get a notes page. So the Erin Condren obviously is a bit bigger, so if you compare the two of these, you can see the Erin Condren has quite a bit more room. But it's still on the smaller side. They have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines in the Happy Planner, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of 6.5 in the Erin Condren. Unless you count that one, I guess, as half a line, in which case they both have the same number of lines. But this, if you can see, I wouldn't really count that. I think you could write a header on it, but not actually do proper planning with that line because it's so narrow. So in terms of layout from that perspective, the small planners are basically the same. They're both lined, which I think is kind of a shame if you want to use a lot of stickers. I would prefer in a way not to have lines if it was for heavy duty sticker planning, because then I think the lines just get in the way if you're putting everything on stickers. But if you're not putting everything on stickers, then it's great having the lines. So this is a good layout. For me, I think that this is perfect as an expense tracker, because I just like writing the expenses in, and it's good having the lines. It would also be good as a gratitude journal or a journal, anything where you just need the lines basically, rather than as a hardcore pretty planner. So the small versions are quite similar in that respect. They also both have a month on 2 pages at the beginning of every month. And this is something that's different, in fact, in all the planners. So if you can see here, you've got your month on 2 pages. In both cases, the week starts on Sunday, which I find really annoying. I wish it started on Monday, but that's typical of North American planners for the monthly layout. So it's not just these two that do it like that. The layout is kind of opposite in each case, because in the Happy Planner you've got a notes column on the left, whereas in the Erin Condren you have it on the right. In both cases it's pretty narrow. You can use this as I'd say a to-do list of short things, but you can't really fit a lot on these lines. A really nice touch about the Erin Condren is that it has the moon phases, which I've never used before, but I just like it, and the fact that it doesn't have a lot of writing on this monthly layout means that the moon phases stand out quite well, and it's a nice touch, I think. This one, I think it might just be this particular design, gives you holidays, which The Erin Condren does give some, so it gives Independence Day, and then I think it gives some other holidays. I think maybe Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur on here. So like here it says Thanksgiving, Election Day, obviously US holidays, Halloween. This particular one gives you some like silly holidays like National Pina Colada Day, but I think that's just this particular design of the Happy Planner. So they have so many different designs. So that's the monthly layout. The thing to remember about the monthly layout is, and this is true for all the different sizes, the monthly layouts are like that in all the different sizes. And the thing is that the hardbound planner doesn't have tabs. So I find this a bit, it depends on what you're using it for, but it can be a little bit hard to find this because the monthlies are embedded within the weeklies. So you have a monthly here, and then you have your 4 or 5 weeklies, and then you have the next monthly, and there are no tabs, so you can't go directly to the monthly pages. There's no way of really being able to identify where they are in the book. For me, that's not a problem because I keep the bookmark in the weekly spread, and you're never too far away from the relevant month if you're on the weekly spread, so I don't actually think it's an issue, but it depends what you want to use this monthly calendar for. So for me, as an expense tracker, I use this to keep track of my bank balance. So I don't really need to go forwards and backwards and check different months. But if I was using this for forward planning, I would find this annoying because, say I wanted to write an appointment for, I don't know, like March 2018. I'm like, where is March? And I'd have to flip through and find it. So I would actually prefer to have all the months at the beginning, just because then you wouldn't really have to wander all through the planner looking for them. Whereas with this one, because it has tabs, you can just go straight to the month that you want. So that is something to keep in mind. Obviously, you can put tabs on this. They would stick out a bit, but I've done that with my Hobonichi, so you could definitely do it with this and it wouldn't really be a problem. But, and I'm also not that much of a tab person anyway. I think again, because I'm used to having bound planners and I've never really had tabs, but if you're used to having tabs, then I think this, you know, feels like an essential. So in terms of the weekly layouts in the bigger planners, the Happy Planner has more choices because there are horizontal and vertical options. So most of them are vertical, which is like the Erin Condren. So obviously the Erin Condren was doing vertical layouts like this before the Happy Planner came along. But now so if we compare these two, in some ways they're quite similar. So you have 3 boxes, no lines. The boxes aren't labeled, so you can use them for 3 different categories of things, or morning, afternoon, evening, as they used to be labeled in both the Happy Planner and the Erin Condren. Or you can just, you know, use it as a to-do list and ignore the different headers. So I think a really famous difference between these is that the Erin Condren has a gap between each day. So you can see here there's a gap there, whereas the Happy Planner doesn't. So the Happy Planner actually gives you quite a bit more space. You can see if you compare these boxes, you can see the Happy Planner boxes are much bigger than the Erin Condren boxes, even though the Erin Condren page is bigger. The Erin Condren has more white space, so you can see here at the top there's quite a bit more room, whereas this is sort of going almost from the top to the bottom. And then the Erin Condren has 4 lines here at the bottom that you can use for extra to-dos or a shopping list or whatever. Then this just has a quote. It doesn't really have enough room to write very much anyway. Another thing is in this particular design, and like I said, there's so many different designs of Happy Planners that you can find one that has bigger boxes. This one I think is the thinnest, or one of the thinnest designs for the headers. But in this particular one, there's no room to write anything in the headers, whereas in the Erin Condren, there's quite a bit of room in these headers, so you could write your own headings or put stickers on with headings if you wanted to. Another difference here is that the Happy Planner has a little monthly calendar, whereas the Erin Condren doesn't. It has this little box. I actually prefer this because you can do what you want with this. You can, so I always put a little motivational quote. Ironically, I use Happy Planner stickers in this. So it's just perfect for a little circular sticker. Whereas with this, I feel like personally I never use these monthly calendars when, you know, they're on a weekly spread. I just never use them. My eye just skips over them and I don't even realize that they're there. But it's harder to cover this up because it extends over quite a bit of the top of the page, so it's harder to put a sticker over this. So if you don't use it, it's basically just wasted space. If you do use it, then you will like having this here. But I prefer this layout, which doesn't have it. And they're both quite similar in that they have this notes column here. The Erin Condren isn't labeled, which I like. This is labeled notes, but I like having it blank because then you can do whatever you want with it. Obviously this you could still do whatever you want, but I think it's nice not having the label. And other than that, they're both pretty much the same. They have a Monday start and they go until Sunday on the right. So you can see there, so this one has more room, but this one has more note space. And I don't have a horizontal happy planner, but there is also a classic size happy planner. At least one of the designs is horizontal, so it would look like the mini basically, except big. Whereas the Erin Condren doesn't have that option. So with the Erin Condren, they make the decision for you, which in a way I think is kind of nice because then it takes away the element of possible decision fatigue. You don't have to think about it. The small one is horizontal, the large one is vertical, and that's it. You can't get a small vertical, you can't get a big horizontal. The big happy planner is also vertical, although I think that there is a horizontal one as well. And it's basically the same as the classic except huge, like I said. And this particular design, this one, like I said, there are lots of different ones, as everyone knows. This says to do here, and then it has a checklist, and then it says bright ideas, and then it has some blank spaces, and it doesn't have the calendar. That's because this one is undated. So that's another thing as well, is that the Happy Planner has both dated and undated options, whereas the Erin Condren is all dated, and it's an 18-month planner. So that's another issue. Some of the Happy Planners, or a lot of the classic size Happy Planners are 18 month. There are also some 12-month ones, but a lot of them are 18 months dated. And the Erin Condren's big and small are both 18 months dated as well. So this one, the one that's out now, goes from July 2017 to December 2018. The new Happy Planners that started in July are the same. So July 2017 to December 2018, but then the Happy Planners come in so many different shapes and sizes that you can get undated 12-month Happy Planners, dated 12-month Happy Planners, etc. So this is an undated 12-month one, for example. So I think the Happy Planner is a lot more flexible. If you want to be able to like mix and match and you want it to be 18 months, but then you want to take out 6 months, you can do that. Or if you just want to get a 12-month one, you can do that. Or if you want it to be undated, you can do that. Whereas the Erin Condren is just, this is what you get. You don't have as many choices. So that's layout. I think that's, the only other thing to do with layout, which is interesting, is the Erin Condren has an initial 18-month calendar here, so this runs for the whole time that the planner is valid. And then it has 12 boxes which you can use for goal setting or for birthdays or whatever you want. It doesn't dictate, but it has these 12 boxes, which I think makes sense if you want to use it for birthdays or for some kind of goal setting that's not specific to tied to the months. Because the thing that's a little bit confusing about this is that this is an 18-month planner, but it gives you 12 boxes. So I prefer to think of this as something that's not supposed to be tied to the actual calendar year, the planner that you're using it in, because otherwise you'd run out of boxes. So I just use this for like positive affirmations about finances because that's what this planner is for. And then it goes straight into the monthly views. So that's what the beginning looks like. And then at the end, it has quite a few notes pages. So it has a range of lined, dot grid, and blank notes pages, probably about maybe 15 pages altogether. or 20, and then it has next year's calendar. So it has 2019, and it has some little notes places where you can write in events. So I really like this. I think that this is a great feature because it lets you forward plan for the next year after your planner has run out. So like, you know, when you get to the last few months of the planner before you are ready to switch over to your new planner, you start collecting events and appointments for the next year, and this is a perfect place to put them. So I really like that because not every planner has that. So that's in the small and the big. The layout is the same. Whereas in the Happy Planner, it has a 2-year layout. So instead of the 18 months that the planner runs for, in this case, it gives you the current year and the next year. This is a 12-month planner, so it gives you 2017, and then it also gives you 2018, which is nice too. And then it gives you a dashboard. So instead of the 12 like goal boxes or whatever at the beginning of this planner, it gives you a dashboard at the beginning of every month, which has the current month, the preceding month, and the coming month, and then it gives you monthly goals, and then it gives you some important dates. And then it goes into the monthly calendar. So it's a little bit different. Quite similar though, I guess, in that they don't give you tons of unnecessary stuff at the beginning. They just give you the, you know, the yearly calendar and sort of what you're going to need. So it's quite similar at the beginning. The end is different though, because whereas the Erin Condren gives you quite a few note pages, the Happy Planner just gives you one note page that's basically just the back of the last weekly spread, and that's it. There's nothing else. There's no forward planning. There's no, there's nothing else. And partly that's to do with the fact that you can add in more notes pages. So if you wanted to have notes pages in this, you can buy a separate pack and add as much note paper as you want to, which is obviously a nice feature of the disc bound planner. But it doesn't give you the forward planning calendar. It does give you the 2018 planner at the beginning, but it doesn't have the space to write notes. So I like the way that this is set up because it really is designed so that you can record events that are coming up in the next year. And it makes sense to me that it's at the end of the planner because that's where I would expect to find, you know, the coming year. This is after the planner is finished. Whereas having it at the beginning, I think I would be less likely to use this for forward planning. There is a little bit of blank space here that you could use if you wanted to write down 1 or 2 events. So I guess you could use it like that, but it feels like it's more designed for consultation rather than for actually using it. And you can't really move this to the end very easily. I mean, you can, but it's got the dashboard on the back for the first month, so you could move it to the end. It's just, I don't know if that would bother you or not. That would bother me, knowing that this didn't belong at the end. But that's basically the difference in layout, and that's true for all of the different sizes. So in terms of design, the first thing is obviously that the Happy Planner has tons of different designs. So you have the 3 different sizes, and then each size has different designs that you can get, and a lot of the different designs are available in 2 of the sizes or all 3 of the sizes, and they have so many different designs that it's just bewildering to me now. I don't even know how many they have. And now that they've just brought out the new line of memory planners, they've got even more designs. So you really have pretty much endless choice there because each cover design will have a different insides. And something that I like about them is that they are they give you a lot of choice for different types of designs. So some of them are more playful, some of them are more serious, some of them are photorealistic, some of them are watercolor. I feel like they give you a lot of different options so that whatever your style is, you're probably going to find something that you like. So like, just for example, the ones that I have, I love this one. This one is like a really silly one, which I like. So it has like this daily essentials, which, you know, has a picture of a Happy Planner and coffee, and it's very playful. Whereas this peonies one is very stylized and very minimalist, and I like that too, but it's completely different. And it has a lot of quotes, but it's very streamlined, and it just has a completely different feel than this one. And this one again, this has a lot of geometric shapes. It's also quite minimalist. I guess this is more like the peonies one in style than this one, but there are so many in the new release that it's just hard to keep track of them all. But there really is, I think, you know, something for most people. Whereas the Erin Condren, so it's a little bit complicated. There are a few different designs. There are 4 different designs available from the Erin Condren website, and then there are, I think, maybe another 4 that are available from Amazon and I think Staples. It's a little bit abstract to me because they're not available in the UK, so I've only seen them on YouTube videos. But from the Erin Condren website, basically, there are 4 different colors. There is this one, which is called linen, but it really looks kind of grey. Then there's a black one with gold. Then there's a turquoise one and a pink one, which I think is called cherry blossom. And each color dictates what there will be on the inside, and each one has a different inside. So I think, so this one, the linen one, has the colorful mid-century circles design, which is basically this design. And I absolutely love this design. I love the rainbow colors and I like the circle design. So this was definitely the one that I knew was for me. On Amazon, annoyingly, I found out later, they have this same design, but with this on the cover. This design is on the cover instead of the grey, which I would have loved, but I'd already ordered this by the time I found that out. So that was a shame, but maybe next year if they have the same design. So you get this alternating color design that goes all the way through, and I really like that. And you have this colorful stripe at the top, which matches the color of the month, and every month it changes. And the small and the large are both the same. So you basically have 4 different designs. I think the black one is the same as this, but black and white. So it's mid-century circles, but just black and white and grayscale. And then the pink one, between the pink and the turquoise, one of them has a fleur-de-lis design, which is also, I think, black and white, and then there's maybe some color, and then there's another one which I can't remember at all, so I'm sorry. But if you look at the Erin Condren website, you can see all the different 4. So basically each color cover has a different inside design, and this was my favorite of them. So you don't have as many different choices as the Happy Planner, but you do have a few different choices. So I think, again, like if you like colorful, there's something for you. Oh, I know what the final one is. The final one is a flower design, and it has some color, but I feel like this is the most colorful one, which is why I picked it. So they all have some kind of decoration on the inside. They'll all look something like this. They'll have this band of color running across the top of every day, and then they have a design at the top here. And the mini Happy Planner is kind of similar. So it also has a different color scheme every month, and you have the little band running across the top, and then you have something at the very top of the page. And it changes by month. So I feel like they're quite similar in that way. Obviously, there's a lot more scope. So because there's so many different designs, there's a lot more variation. But it's basically a similar kind of concept. So for the large one, the vertical one, so for the Happy Planner, the classic and the big, you get a similar kind of thing where you have some colors. This one is quite minimalist compared to a lot of them, where this doesn't really have much color. And also this is the same all year round, which I think is kind of unusual for the Happy Planner. Often they will change depending on the month. So this one, actually, sorry, the colors do change depending on the month, but the colors up here are the same all year round. So you can see this little tab here is green, and the weekend is also shaded in. That's quite a big difference actually in terms of design, is that the Erin Condren is the same for every day, so the weekend isn't shaded in, whereas the Happy Planner, not all of the designs, but a lot of the designs have a different color on the weekend, which annoys people who want to do decorating and don't want to have this already colored in. But if you like to have your weekends highlighted, then it's convenient. So you can see this is September. So September is pink. So this is pink here at the top, and then the weekends are also pink. Whereas October is this kind of taupe color, I guess. And so the weekends are taupe, but these colors of the bubbles for the days, for the dates, are the same all the way through. So with the Erin Condren, again, it varies depending on the month. So for example, April all of the colors are going to be according to that color scheme, and then it changes when you get to a new month. So this is something that I quite like. The month color will dictate the colors of the day. So if you get a change of month in the middle of the week, you get the two different colors on the one spread, and then you can see, so June is this purple color. So I really like the way that this is done. I think this is a nice layout. But the Happy Planner obviously is as well, depending on which one you have. So I only have a fraction of the total number of Happy Planner designs, but just to give some idea, this one is quite plain, but the colors vary depending on the month again. So I feel like for the Happy Planners that I have, the Erin Condren is a bit more colorful and it has more variety, more decoration on the weekly spreads, because it's got this mid-century circles design at the top and it has quite a bit of color. But that obviously depends on which Happy Planner you get and which Erin Condren you get. So the other thing is quotes and decoration. So the Happy Planner has, again, depending on the design, I think a lot of the mini Happy Planners have a quote or a little thankful for box. So they'll have something in the bottom right hand corner of every week. So sometimes they'll have a quote and sometimes they have a little box for gratitude. The small Erin Condren doesn't have as much of that, so it gives you this whole space for notes, whereas here you only have part of the space for notes because the rest of it is this thankful for box. So depending on what you'd prefer, I kind of like having it blank, but then it's also nice having the little gratitude box if you want to do that and you have a little space for it. Then the Erin Condren does also sometimes have quotes. Let's see, just doesn't have them that often. I think it's 1 week a month it will have a quote at the bottom of the notes space. So here it says make yourself proud, and then the rest of them are blank and they say notes. So I feel like there's a little bit more decoration in the Happy Planner in terms of, like quotes than in the Erin Condren, but the Erin Condren still has some. In the classic size Happy Planner, again, I think you get it maybe 1 week a month. So this one says you have to be odd to be number one, and then the rest of the weeks are quoteless. Whereas, and then you get make yourself proud. So it's 1 week a month you get a quote. Whereas in this one, you get quite a lot more writing. So you have this, good things take time. Oh, happy day. So it's every other week that you get it. Saturdays are for adventures. So I feel like there are more quotes in here, but there are still quotes in the Erin Condren as well. Now, the next issue is paper quality. So there is a big difference between the two of them here. So the Erin Condren is really, really not fountain pen friendly. So you can see here I did this test, and there is quite a lot of ghosting and bleed through, even from fine. These are all fine or extra fine fountain pens, except for the bottom one, which is a medium. And it's like really, basically anywhere there's writing, you can totally see it through on the next side. So like, for example, here, let's see all of that? Like, I'm not sure how well it's showing up on camera, but you can really, like, you can read through what I've written on the other side of the page. Which was disappointing to me, but it's not a deal breaker because this is my expense tracker, so I don't care. It doesn't have to look immaculately beautiful. I don't mind it. I can still read it. And then this one, the home planner, I just put everything on stickers, so there's no issue of bleed through because I don't actually write on the paper. But if paper quality is your thing, you will be interested to know that the Happy Planner is a completely different experience. So this is the same medium fountain pen that I showed you before that had really drastic bleed through. And you can see here, if I turn this over, there's absolutely nothing on the other side. I can't see this at all. And this is really interesting because the paper to me feels quite similar. So this doesn't really feel thicker to me than this. Maybe slightly thicker, but not noticeably so. They both feel pretty thick. So this paper feels thick. You can hear it here. It doesn't feel like thin paper. It's just not fountain pen friendly. And I haven't used it with a gel pen or any other kind of pen, so I'm not sure. All I can say is that it's not good with fountain pens, whereas the Happy Planner paper is fantastic with fountain pens. So so if you're a paper quality person and that is really important to you, then I would say definitely go with the Happy Planner, because the Erin Condren is not at all good on that point. But it's nice paper. Like it feels nice. It looks nice. It's just not good for fountain pens. But the Happy Planner is amazing for fountain pens. So I think that that's basically it. The overall impression, I think, is they look very different, mostly just because of the binding. And that's really the main thing that drew me to the hardbound Erin Condren. I'd liked the Erin Condren designs, as in I liked the really colourful layout, and I liked the kind of rainbedical vibe that's going on there, but I didn't like the coil bound planners. So when she came out with the hardbound planner, I was instantly like, ooh, because I love hardbound planners. The other thing is that I should mention here is that, just as a little accent, that you get this gold or silver foil depending on the design, depending on the color, and then you also get foiling on the side, so it's kind of nice. It doesn't come with the pen loop. Neither of these have pen loops. That's one of my biggest gripes, I guess, is they don't come with pen loops. So it's easily solvable. For this one, I just bought these metal pen loops on Amazon and it works perfectly. The Happy Planner does sell pen loops separately. This is a Happy Planner pen loop, and I put it on one of their snap-in covers. So it is possible to remedy that. But oh, and then the other thing is that you can always get all these accessories for the Happy Planner, like pockets and things that you can put in, because it's got the discs. The Erin Condren website, I think, also has some accessories for these, but I haven't bought any of them because it's so expensive shipping internationally. I made the commitment to buy the planners, but then I didn't want to order anything else. So I'm not sure what you can get for these, but I feel like the scope is more limited just because they are hardbound, so you can't like put in a whole bunch of extra stuff in them. So yeah, I feel like if you like bound planners, then this is definitely a great option. Even, aside from the paper quality, it's just a really nice layout, really nice design. And I think, the two sizes between the two sizes, there will be one that you will like. With the Happy Planner, you get, a lot more different options. Like I said, the paper quality is fantastic. I think the main issue is whether or not you like the disc binding. My one problem with the disc binding with the Happy Planner discs is that they're plastic, which I don't really like, just because of how they look, and also environmentally it's not good, and also they break. So if you carry these around in your bag a lot, chances are that they might break. That's happened to me with some of them that I was using, carrying around outside. If you have them inside and you just have them on your desk, then they're probably going to be fine. Mine have been. You can switch them out for metal discs from a different company. So these are Doki Book discs, and they're metal and they're fantastic and they'll last forever, but they don't work with the snapping covers, so that's annoying. So obviously with the Erin Condren, you don't have to worry about any of that because it's just hardbound. So I think really I would say for me the main issue is whether you like hardbound planners or would like to have the flexibility of disc bound. And I think that's the major issue between the two of them, and then also the paper quality. So for me, I think in future, if I have to choose for a planner or anything resembling a planner, i.e. anything that has dates rather than a notebook, I would go for the Erin Condren, just because, like I said, I feel like I don't really take advantage of the discs. But I love both of them. They're both great options. And if you're a planner addict, you'll probably end up with both of them anyway. So who am I kidding? So I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions about anything I didn't mention. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!